Lab21 acquisition of Sela Technologies really is a prime example of how the knowledge-based economic development playbook works. Sela was formed after Dr. Yaping's son up at Clemson University invented some tunable carbon nanodots. The actual presence of those dots and the potential capabilities of dots were presented at the Innoventure Forum up in Greenville, which has been running for the last several years. And an entrepreneur named Michael Bullock, who had roots in South Carolina, was struck by the potential of that. So he formed Sela Technologies, licensed the intellectual property from Clemson, and proceeded through a variety of mechanisms and processes to commercialize those carbon nanodots. SCRA, through its SC Launch Inc. affiliate, was proud to have been an original investor in Sela Technologies, and really followed and supported, as did numbers of the roughly 35 companies that are in our resource partner network, supported and nurtured the development of Sela. One of our co-investors in Sela Technologies was Nexus Partners, which is one of the most active South Carolina investors under the Venture Capital Authority Act. And Nexus had also co-invested in Lab21, which was a UK-based company that was creating both products and services in the DNA and molecular diagnostics markets. When Nexus brokered an introduction between Lab21 and Sela, the principals at Lab21 and at Sela instantly recognized how much value could be added to the Lab21 diagnostics products through applications of the Sela dots. So that recognition led to an inspection by Lab21 of South Carolina as a potential launching pad for their intended U.S. subsidiary. And so what you have is this marvelous progression between intellectual property created at an in-state university, licensed to local entrepreneurs, funded by both arguably public and private investors, and then coming to the attention of a very fast-growing company that was coming into the United States. And so the result is exactly the type of knowledge-based economic development outcome that the combination of legislation that arose through the Life Sciences Act, the Research Infrastructure Act, Innovation Centers, University Partners Act, and the Venture Capital Authority Act over the last several years. It's exactly a fulfillment of the vision that those pieces of legislation envision. So we're very happy at that result. We think it exemplifies the type of indigenous innovation economy that we're trying to foster here. And I would set your expectations that we're going to have at least two handfuls of announcements like this, case studies like this over the next 2 years. Compare South Carolina to Georgia, Virginia, and North Carolina. We don't quite have the critical mass that they do in terms of absolute numbers of companies and total investment resources and all that sort of stuff. But you have to recognize that those states have a roughly 25 to 30-year head start on what we're doing here. If you look at the Milken Institute studies that track the rate of growth of private investment in technology companies in those respective states, South Carolina's rate of growth is higher than the other states. The absolute dollars are smaller, but the rate of growth is higher. Through the SC Launch program, in 3 years and 9 months of operation, we have helped almost 270 startup entities either form or land in South Carolina. And some 41 of those have secured portfolio level investments. Those portfolio companies have leveraged over 70 million of that on private equity to date. And we do know that in that population, there's another roughly 50 million of term sheets pending. It's another example of how private investment will follow public initiative. And again, the Lab21 SEALA case study really